Hey guys, welcome back to Intelligent Faith 315. This is Pastor Jay. Glad to be with you today. We're going to be continuing with the series we began some weeks ago called Ancient Non-Christian Historical Evidence for the Life of Jesus. But before we do that, just wanted to take a moment and say hello to some friends that I've been getting to know a little bit. Got some emails from some folks. I want to say hello to a friend of mine named Russ out in California. Really enjoy your comments, Russ, your feedback. Go ahead and put together that list of questions for me, and we'll get a video made just to answer your particular questions. Also wanted to say hello to a girl named Jennifer Little out in Calgary, up in Canada. Really do appreciate your feedback, your encouragement, Jennifer. So send me more questions, talk to your friends, pass it around, and looking forward to talk with you guys more in the future. And also, lastly, I just wanted to welcome our viewers from Latvia, from the Ukraine, from China, and also from Slovenia. I want to just welcome you guys. And the reason for that is because I know that maybe not all of you, but some of you are maybe in a city, in a culture, in an environment, in a university where there's a lot of Marxist philosophy, which is basically optimistic atheism. So I really do encourage you guys to keep tuning into Intelligent Faith, and I'm really glad that you guys are here. We're always very glad when Christians tune in, and they do so to get encouraged, to get built up, to get equipped to share their faith, and to defend their faith. But my heart especially goes out to folks who are truth seekers. They still haven't made up their mind concerning the question of God, concerning the question specifically of the Christian worldview and the Christian personal creator God. So really do encourage you guys to keep tuning in. I'm glad you guys are here. Especially you guys, pass it around to your friends, to your co-students, your fellow students, family members. We're glad that you guys are with us. So as I said, just going to jump right back into it today. We're going to continue with the ancient non-Christian historical evidence regarding the life of Christ. As I mentioned, guys, a couple of weeks ago, I do encourage you guys to go to GaryHabermas.com, 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 and you can download this entire dissertation paper that I'm basically just reading through and commenting on from Dr. Gary Habermas. He teaches apologetics at Liberty University as a PhD. He's probably, I would say, the premier Christian apologist in historical apologetics, specifically in the resurrection evidence for Jesus Christ. The guy's a phenomenal apologist. I really appreciate Dr. Habermas. He's got some very interesting material, not only on the secular evidence for the resurrection, but also on the historical evidence and the scientific evidence of the Shroud of Turin. And believe it or not, it may sound a little strange to you, but near-death experiences. And he takes both of these areas, the possibility of near-death experiences and the evidence to verify them. And he uses the evidence of the Shroud of Turin, which, if you don't know what that is, it's the burial garment of either a 1st century Jew or a 13th century man. And he brings them to bear for the case for the resurrection of Jesus Christ. The reason they're important is because the Shroud of Turin, the burial garment, I think powerfully and persuasively points about 85% towards being the garment of Jesus, and it's amazing scientific, textual evidence and historical evidence that they can find within the shroud itself. It's a genuine archaeological artifact. And also the evidence of near-death experiences, if it is true that there is genuine, verifiable scientific and documentary evidence of near-death experiences, then it does make the resurrection more likely. And so he brings both of those to bear, and he supports them. Of course, his major speciality is the historical evidence surrounding the person of Jesus of Nazareth. So all that to say, go to GaryHabermas.com, check out Dr. Habermas, do a search for him on YouTube, a search for him on Google. Anything you can find from Dr. Gary Habermas is outstanding. Some good books from Dr. Habermas is The Case for the Resurrection. He recently wrote this with Dr. Mike Licona. Great, outstanding book. Also, The Verdict of History, a very famous book where he details specifically what we're talking about here, the ancient, non-Christian historical evidence for Jesus of Nazareth. So, enough talking. I do that quite a bit, as I'm sure you can tell. Let's just jump right back into it. By way of review, in totality, we're going to be looking at ancient historians, government sources, also Gnostic sources and Jewish sources, and examining the historical evidence and testimony that they give to us concerning this man, Jesus of Nazareth. Some of the ancient historians, Flavius Josephus, Tacitus, Suetonius, Julius Africanus, and Thallus. Some of the government sources: Emperor Trajan, Pliny the Younger, and Emperor Hadrian. And then we also have some Gnostic sources. This is an early heretical Christian group that was there, but we have a lot of their historical writings. The Gospel of Truth, the Apocryphon of John, the Gospel of Thomas, the Treatise on the Resurrection, the Acts of Pontius Pilate, and a man named Phlegon, And some of the Jewish documents we'll be analyzing towards the end of this is the Talmud, and also a document called Toledoth Jesu. So do encourage you guys to stick around. If you are interested in history, then this is definitely a subject that you want to delve into more deeply. And like I said, go to GaryHabermas.com, download this dissertation paper, print it up. It's for free. He's got amazing stuff for free. He's got a lot of interesting stuff concerning doubt, concerning emotional doubt, intellectual doubt, and volitional doubt. He has a book called The Thomas Factor. I think you can download the entire book for free. So check out his website. But this is great. This is great evidence, because some folks, they may not be perceptive or receptive to philosophical evidence, or maybe scientific evidence, or biological design information. They may not really want to talk about some of the other aspects of Christian apologetics that can powerfully and persuasively point to the existence of the Creator, personal God of Scripture, but they're open to history, see? And especially when it comes from a non-Christian ancient historical source. And as we said before, this does not prove the validity of the Christian faith. It does not prove the divinity of Jesus, because he did claim to be divine. He called himself the Son of God, the Son of Man, numerous divine titles. It doesn't prove any of that. It doesn't even prove if Christian theology is actually true or if it's coherent or logical. All we're seeking to do with this is just simply to lay a solid historical foundation so that it's really indisputable to even question or wonder whether there was such a figure as Jesus of Nazareth. And I know that most of you probably believe in him as a historical figure, as a historical person, but some of you may not. I know that we have some viewers in Europe. We have some viewers in Deutschland. Und ich möchte euch einen Willkommen geben. I lived in Germany for about 3 years, so welcome you guys to our show here. You know, you may be in a place, France, Germany, some other places, where a lot of people these days in a postmodern, post-Christian society, they actually doubt the historical existence of this man, Jesus of Nazareth. A lot of folks think it's a legend or a myth. They're not even sure if we can ascertain accurately whether he existed or not. And this is simply to lay all of those questions to rest and establish as an indisputable fact of history that there existed a man known as Jesus of Nazareth in first century Palestine. So it's basically that. Then after we establish that, then we can take these historical facts, this historical context, and then we can talk about the Scripture itself, biblical history, historical facts that go beyond this regarding the life of Jesus and how those point to the probability of his resurrection, the authenticity and reliability of the Bible, etc. So we're just really laying a very basic groundwork here, really basic foundational groundwork, but it's very important. A lot of folks are unaware of this type of information, but it's been around for a long time, almost 2,000 years, and Dr. Habermas has popularized it. He's made it accessible, and I just want to pass it on to you guys. I want to put you in touch with the best experts, and in this field, it's Dr. Gary Habermas. So let's jump right into it. What we already covered is we already went through Tacitus. He is a Roman historian from the 1st century. Tacitus lived from 55 AD to 120 AD. We also talked about, I believe, Suetonius. He was a Roman historian from 40 to 120 AD. And today we're going to talk about one of the most popular and well-known ancient historians in the world. His name is Flavius Josephus. Okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to read through the actual paper, going to try to keep it lively as I possibly can, going to stop, make some comments, and then we'll actually read the 2 portions of text that Josephus is famous for and draw out the historical facts, about 10 historical facts we can glean from Josephus's information about Jesus of Nazareth. So here we go. Jewish historian Flavius Josephus was born in 37 or 38 AD, and he died in 97 AD. He was born into a priestly family and became a Pharisee at the age of 19. The Pharisees were a religious sect, highly strict in the Jewish religion, in Judaism. After surviving a battle against the Romans, he served command of Vespasian in Jerusalem. After the destruction of Jerusalem in 70 AD, he moved to Rome, where he became the court historian for Emperor Vespasian. So it goes beyond saying this is a reliable, secular historical source. He was the court historian for Emperor Vespasian, the emperor of the Roman Empire, Vespasian. The Antiquities, one of Josephus' major works, provides some valuable but disputed evidence concerning Jesus. Written around 90 to 95 AD, it is earlier than the testimonies of the Roman historians. Josephus speaks about many persons and events of first century Palestine, and he makes two references to Jesus. Here's the first one, okay? It's very short, but it's interesting. The first reference is very brief and is in the context of a reference to James, quote, the brother of Jesus who was called Christ, quote. So that's it. Very short reference. I'll read it again. Quote, the brother of Jesus, comma, who was called Christ, unquote. Here we find a close connection between Jesus and James, and also the belief on the part of some that Jesus was the Messiah. So it establishes from the testimony of Josephus that James was a historical figure, he was the brother of Jesus, and that Jesus was perceived, at least by some, to be the actual Jewish Messiah. Three interesting historical facts. But that's a very small reference. Let's go on to the second and popular, the second reference of Josephus here. The second reference is easily the most important and the most debated, since some of the words appear to be due to Christian interpolation. In other words, people doubt as to how much intervention or maybe some disturbance or modification Christians over the centuries have given to these words. A portion of this second quotation reads like this, quote, now there was about this time Jesus, a wise man, if it is lawful to call him a man, for he was one who wrought surprising feats. He was the Christ. He appeared to them alive again the third day, as the divine prophets had foretold, these and 10,000 other wonderful things concerning him, unquote. That's a portion of this second quotation, but the version I just read to you is under dispute, and here's why. Since Josephus was a Jew, it's unlikely he would have written about Jesus in this way. Origen, he's an early church father from Alexandria, Origen informs us that Josephus did not believe Jesus to be the Messiah, yet Eusebius, church historian, Eusebius quotes the debated passage, including the words above. So it's interesting. Origen and Eusebius seem to have kind of a disagreement here. Therefore, probably the majority of commentators believe that at least a portion of this citation, the distinctly Christian words in particular, is a Christian interpolation. In other words, those were probably inserted by some Christians over the years into Josephus' manuscript. Yet, other scholars have also supported the original ending. And also, a mediating position taken by many holds that the passage itself is written by Josephus with the questionable words either deleted or modified. So, the major question here concerns the actual words of Josephus. He goes on to say, there are good indications that the majority of this text is genuine. There is no textual evidence against it, and also there is very good manuscript evidence for this statement about Jesus, thus making it difficult to ignore. And also, leading scholars on the works of Josephus have testified that this portion is written in the style of this Jewish historian. Thus, we conclude there are good reasons for accepting this version of Josephus' statement about Jesus with modification of the questionable words. In fact, it is possible these modifications can even be accurately ascertained. So let's go ahead and skip over that, and let me read to you now the modified version of Josephus. In other words, I'm going to read to you the quotation of Josephus that is not debated, and it's a little bit different. Here it is. And then we'll pick up on it in our next video. Modified. At this time, there was a wise man who was called Jesus. His conduct was good, and he was known to be virtuous. And many people from among the Jews and the other nations became his disciples. Pilate condemned him to be crucified and to die. But those who had become his disciples did not abandon his discipleship. They reported that he had appeared to them 3 days after his crucifixion, and that he was alive. Accordingly, he was perhaps the Messiah, concerning whom the prophets have recounted wonders. That is the modified version, ladies and gentlemen, of the second reference of the Jewish historian Flavius Josephus concerning Christ. So what kind of historical facts can we then draw out of this portion, which is undisputed really by historical scholars today, Tune in next time, our next video in this series, and we'll give you those 10 historical facts. Fascinating stuff. I encourage you guys to keep tuning in, guys. So glad you're with us. Until next time, have an intelligent faith.